What's good, guys? You guys asked for it, so we're going to give it to you. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry. In-depth breakdown. We're going to be doing this. We could also do a Kai Asakura versus Pantoja in-depth breakdown. Just let me know. Or we could do a Buckley versus Covington in-depth breakdown. So let me know what you guys think. And, of course, I just want to thank you guys for hitting the milestone. We hit it before December. Right now, it's currently November 26, 2024. And this milestone was hit yesterday, November 25th, 2024. I want to thank you guys for 2,000, baby. In a little bit, I'm going to just start spamming ads. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to start spamming ads. I'm not going to be that guy. But I want to thank you guys for 2,000. What would I do without you guys? Like, I literally I wouldn't be able to be here without you guys. I wouldn't be able to be doing this video without you guys. I'd be in a fucking... Yeah, she is! I'd be in fucking ditch without you guys, bro. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Thank you guys so much for helping me hit 2,000 subs. Let's get it. Hope you guys had a great day. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and we're going to get into it. So thank you guys for helping me hit this milestone, but this is just the beginning. Ian Machado Garry versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat Rakhmonov minus 390. Ian Machado Garry plus 280. Currently, the odds are in favor of Shavkat Rakhmonov. He's finished everybody inside the distance. He's finished everybody. He's 18-0. All finishes, 100% finish rate. Ian Garry, on the other hand, doesn't have a 100% finish rate. He likes to dance around the cage methodically, get into his opponent's rhythm, and then slowly work his opponent with volume. We're going to talk about Shavkat Rakhmonov first. And then we're going to go into Ian Machado Garry. 18 fights, 18 finishes, 10 by sub, and 8 by KO. We have to mention that this guy is a submission clinic. The thing is, though, he sometimes struggles with takedowns. If you guys saw my prediction video, which you guys gave a lot of love to, I mentioned how Shavkat Rakhmonov kind of struggles to take his opponents down sometimes, and that's why it led me to choose Ian Garry. But right now, we're not making the picks. We're just going to give you all the information that I have, all these threads that I've gotten together, and we're going to talk about Shavkat Rakhmonov's base and the possibilities and fruition and outcomes that could happen or play a factor in this fight. Shavkat Rakhmonov, ground and pound, is violent. The thread covers 6 of the principles he applies to not just score points, but score finishes as well. So when we look at this thread, I have to zoom out. So if there's a little bit of videos that are cut, it's because of the copyright, YouTube. But we're going to talk about Shavkat Rakhmonov's ground and pound film study. Shout out to this guy. Of course, I have to give this guy credit. His name is Miguel Class. So give him a follow on Twitter. We're going to talk about, controlling the feet, stacking, and then framing. Trapping the arm as well. And we're going to look at all of his career, his entire career, crossface / overhook, knee on the belly. So these are just a list of the things that we're going to look at. Right here, it shows that he's going to talk about the crossface overhook as well. So I'm going to be moving this a lot. So this is just a summary of what we're going to be talking about. So knee on belly, crossface / overhook. Talk about his ground and pound style. And he also trained with Habib's dad, I think. So that's very important to tell too. Shavkat controls the feet while posturing up, consistently removing only protective barrier available to his opponents, unlucky enough to be on their back against him. So he's controlling the feet. I'm going to fast forward, obviously, to facilitate. So sorry, my reading is not the best. But to facilitate this, he has gotten really good. He's gotten really good at controlling and passing his opponent's feet. So we're going to talk about this. He was able to grab his opponent's feet, his ankle, while he's transitioning, allowing him to get to his preferred ground and pound position. Right here, he's kind of in side control. I'm going to move this down a little bit so we can see how dominant his ground and pound is. Right now, he's in kind of stack guard. Getting on top, getting that ground and pound. Holding the knee as well. This is why I love these threads. When you circle specific things and can explain to me, this is what I need. Shavkat Rakhmonov's ability to just overwhelm his opponents with his vicious ground and pound. Gets through. Here he just lifts up his He just lifts up on the feet to get his opponent's hips off the mat. Relentless ground and pound. Shavkat prioritizes damage, and often that means he doesn't have to pass the guard. Here's his opponent. Has a foot on his hips. This could be a position where Ian Garry's on the floor and he's in a position like this. Shavkat stands and controls both legs, putting his knee in between them. And then he gets that. More on this later, but Shavkat loves pinning people down with his knee. So right here, he's pinning his opponent down with his knee. So if he can get you to the ground, that's all he needs. He had 5 takedown attempts on Wonder Boy, got one of them, and he got the submission. That's all he needs. He just needs one takedown. Right here, he controls the ankles, controls the feet by grabbing the ankles, ground and pound, moves the feet out of the way in order to facilitate his ground game and improve it. Right here, grabs the ankles as well. Beautiful accuracy, beautiful precision. We can see how he did it again in here in the UFC. Just kicking back doesn't always help, though. And Shavkat can just step forward. So right here, he's just ground and pound. Against Magny as well, he grabbed the foot. One bonus is for Shavkat is that he can go right into this if he catches a kick. So we can definitely see this if Ian Garry's throwing a body kick. Shavkat Rakhmonov grabs his ankles and he gets into a position where he's in a favorable position. The end result of all of this is that you can't just rely on your legs to protect you against him. He's very good at controlling the legs, throwing the legs off, rotating the legs off so he can land his ground and pound. We know Neil Magny just got finished by Carlos Prates in the first round, so make what you want with that. Right here, we talk about his wide base. While posturing up, Shavkat makes sure to maintain a wide base to float above his opponents where he can look for damaging ground and pound, although this can create openings for deep half entanglements. Another of his favorite positions, after posturing up, Shavkat widens his base, stacks his opponent, and throws arching shots. So his ground and pound is very, very good. And it's going to be a pick your poison type where he ground and pounds you until you turn your back and then finds the submission. Or he ground and pounds you until you get finished. We saw this against Neil Magny. His widened base. Very, very good diagram. Right here when he's on top. He doesn't even need... He can be in half guard, just stand up. He likes to go in half guard, stand up, posture up, land his ground and pound. This can create opportunities for the opponent to get underneath him, though. So we know Ian Garry can sometimes take down people. He took down the MVP. If he's trying to capitalize on this, maybe he can reverse a guy like Shavkat Rakhmonov, potentially opening up leg locks. We know Ian Garry's not that much of a guy of leg locks, but he can throw them up. Although that can be dangerous game because he's a ferocious ground and pounder. So you don't want to do that game against him. This guy ends up getting finished trying to go for a submission against Shavkat. Right here, like Anderson Silva, Shavkat uses frame to create space. Needed to land shots with full extension. These frames are also useful for tracking his opponent's head position while they are scrambling to escape. So right here, we look as well. We keep on looking. As we're looking at Shavkat Rakhmonov, Anderson Silva was an expert at setting up ground and pound with frames and posts. Shavkat uses them, but they're not an essential part to his game. So he uses his frame, this elbow frame on the chin, in order to solidify his top control. Right here, he's grabbing this guy's face. A lot of people don't do that. It's a fight game. You can grab the guy's face. You can do whatever you want other than poke his eye out and stuff. Right here, his leg is kind of trapping this guy's arm in a position where this guy can't get out. He's on the cage. He can't move. He's stuck here, just stuck on the bottom. Against Harris. Beautiful ground and pound. Ground and pound is so accurate, it's so precise. Right here's the knee on the belly. We're going to fast forward a little bit just to get to this position where how he can be like this on Ian Garry. He can be in a dominant position like this on Ian Garry. Ian Garry could be trying to give up his back, trying to be in a position where he's trying to get up, throwing up kicks. Then he just puts his knee on his opponent in order to maintain top control. As he's maintaining top control, he looks to find more favorable positions, looks to posture up. As he postures up with his knee on his opponent, a good knee on the belly can be enough to keep the opponent in place while he postures up. So if he's going to put his knee on your belly, he's going to most likely posture up for ground and pound. This is what he likes to do. This is his little habit that he tends to have. And he has beautiful ground and pound, so he tends to get away with this habit. Right here, naturally, opponents want to remove the space from Shavkat. Needs to land his shots, so they'll shrimp away, they'll shrimp into him and look for an underhook. Shavkat uses his crossface to flatten them out and his overhook to nullify the underhook and keep them from escaping. So this guy's trying to shrimp away. Opponents will often try to shrimp away in order to eliminate the space. But shrimp away just means moving closer to his opponent. So he's putting his crossface. In wrestling, we're taught that you have to have a good crossface, where you have to put your whole arm against the guy's face and just face crank, almost like a Habib versus Conor face crank type situation, where you can just nullify any type of movement that they're trying to create by just cross-facing them hard enough. Right here, it says, another common way to attempt to escape a postured up opponent is to use the underhook to come up on a single leg, which is perfect because we can definitely see a position with this. Shavkat uses an overhook to counter this, so then he gets right back on top and maintains his top control. Paired with his crossface, he makes it very difficult to keep your back off the mat. So it's almost like he's sticking you on top of the mat, like you're a piece of glue and he's sticking you on top of the mat. Uses the crossfaces his opponent. His opponent can't get up. All these guys are trying to go for like a takedown in order to try to get up. Against the fence, Shavkat can use these tools along with the wrist control to make an escape exceedingly difficult. So when you're across the fence, when you're on the fence, it's even harder to get off of your back. He actually prefers to have you in this position and then just do his damage. That's Shavkat Rakhmonov, guys. This is all finishes from Shavkat Rakhmonov. Honestly, I just want to talk about these types of finishes towards the closer half of his UFC career. We talk about how this guy went for a leg lock and how he was able to get out of it. Not only get out of it, but capitalize off of the leg lock with ground and pound. By far one of my favorite finishes from Hamza Chimaev. I mean, not Hamza Chimaev, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Sorry about that. I want to say this, but it's inevitable that they will fight. Honestly, at the beginning of the UFC, when they both came in, I always wanted Shavkat and Hamza to fight, but now they're in different divisions. Here as well in 2015, we look at how good he was, and we see this is not a cage. You know, this is a boxing ring, kind of different type of style. So you have to deal with different adversities, different type of styles, different type of wrestling things. Some things you can't get away with while you're using the cage. So we know that he has good maintained top control in an open mat as well. So it's not only it's not only near the fence, it's in the open side of the mat as well. Right here, he has a good guillotine choke, by far one of his best submissions, a really tight guillotine. And then we're just going to look at here, his nice rear naked choke. We have to show his submissions as well. We can't just show his ground and pound. So that's why I pulled up this thread as well, where it's a little bit blurry, but we're able to find out what's going on. Maintains good control, pulls him down, gets a nice little rear naked choke. If he gets Ian Garry in this position, he can definitely finish a guy like Ian Garry. Right here, he won by KO in the first round. So if you expect this fight to go the distance, be careful, because a guy like this who's finishing his opponents in the first round, this could happen to anybody. So a guy like Shavkat Rakhmonov literally just touched his belly, and this guy said, "Oh, nah, I don't want it." That was by far one of the funniest finishes I've ever seen. And then right here, he won by rear naked choke, takes down his opponent, and his opponent gives up the back. That's what he's waiting for. He's going to ground and pound you until you give up the back and then try to find a nice little rear naked choke. We know guys like Ian Garry cannot give up their back against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Won via triangle choke in the second round. He has a very versatile ability of submissions, arsenal of submissions, ground and pound as he's working his submissions. Nice little submission. By far one of my favorite submissions. He has submissions good from on top and from on bottom. Very good. His opponent has no choice but to tap. And then right here, he won via TKO in the third round. So we know that if it gets a little dicey, he can get finishes in the third round, like he did against Jeff Neal as well. Good ground and pound. Good takedown as well. Beautiful takedown. Ends up getting that win as well. Then we're just going to move forward a little bit faster to before he went to the UFC. 1v first round KO right here. This is a very important finish. Very important finish because that spinning heel kick can definitely... He went from leg kick, spinning body kick, into a spinning head kick setup. And we know Muslim Salikov was one of the only fighters to have multiple spinning head kick KOs in the UFC. So you never know if we're in a position where this guy gets a nice little spinning head kick and then it's a club and sub or some type of situation where like he rocks his opponent, then looks for a submission. If he's not able to get that submission, he's looking to finish you. He's looking to put your lights out for good. Right here, he gets his opponent down, postures up, and it was done. It didn't show the finishing sequence, but I believe it was via ground and pound. And then this is when he's in the UFC defending some good takedowns. We see his takedown defense, because we also have to see his takedown defense is relatively untested. But then we're going to go into Ian Garry. We see how he can defend some takedowns with submissions as well. Jumps on a guillotine, but before he jumps on the guillotine, he frames his position. So right here, he's framing, clasping his hands, making sure his hands are clasped. And then as his opponent's trying to pull him in, he goes with the momentum with his opponent, wraps his legs around, right leg over his left, secures that guillotine choke. And there's no getting out of that. This guy's head is going to have to be cut off in order for him to get out of that guillotine choke. And now we're going to go into Ian Garry. We know Shavkat Rakhmonov has finished everybody inside the UFC, but we're going to look at Cage Warriors as well for Ian Garry. Garry makes his pro UFC debut. We have to look at a lot of notable people came from Cage Warriors. You know Cage Warriors is a really good organization. And the fact that you're undefeated coming from an organization like Cage Warriors is pretty impressive as well. Maybe not as impressive as the organization Shavkat comes from, but we know a guy like Ian Garry is just as elite, if not as elite as Shavkat Rakhmonov. This is going to be a very good fight. We have to show all of Ian Garry's finishes as well. His stance switches, his fundamental boxing, and his beautiful striking. Beautiful head kick into a flying knee. Finishes his opponent. Didn't really land, but just the overwhelming pressure and volume is his bread and butter. Standing next to the future's path in Matt Figlek, a defining bout that catapults him into limelight before a home crowd. So we see his ground and pound. As we see his ground and pound, we see it into rear naked chokes. He has a good rear naked choke, just like Shavkat. And he has a good pull as well, as he's pulling his opponent into his guard. Not into his guard. He's pulling his opponent towards the mat. Trying to work for it. Gets that nice rear naked choke in right here as well. Gary's next challenge comes from George McManus, against whom he demolishes his mastery while providing a new addition to his highlight reel. He has a beautiful head kick. Good 1-2, if not a better 1-2 than Shavkat. The only thing is about Shavkat tends to not move his head a lot. Right here, Ian Garry has a good managing of range, managing of distance. Nice left hand into front kick. By far one of his favorite. Left hand into front kick, wobbled his opponent, able to finish the fight. And then we're going to go into this thread as well. So we're going to look at this. How Ian Garry can be put in a position where he could be forced to have to wrestle, or he could be forced to have to be faced with adversity. March, Cage Warriors. Right here, we're going to look at this one as well. Love how Ian mixes up his punches with high kicks. He will throw a flurry of punches and immediately follow with a head kick when your guard is broken. This is what I wanted to talk about. Right hand into head kick, left hand into head kick. The way he's just able to mix it up. This guy is relentless with his head kicks, and I could definitely see if Shavkat Rakhmonov is not moving his head, a head kick land. I don't think it'll be a finishing strike, but I definitely think it can work up and add up. Additionally, if this ends up in the 4th or 5th round. Right here, he wins by unanimous decision in Cage Warriors, and he would finally get the call from Uncle Dana. This is also why I fast forward a little bit, because we have to see how dominant he is on the ground. We have to see his wrestling positions. If he's on top of Shavkat Rakhmonov, maybe Shavkat shoots a lazy takedown, then he could be in a position like this where he tries to strike with him. But we know Shavkat is not going to be in a position where he's just going to be vulnerable. Shavkat's always going to be moving, and he's not going to just accept losing a decision. Right here, we know in his UFC debut, he was getting touched up a little bit by Jordan Williams, so we have to mention this. We have to mention how Ian Garry was leaking a little bit in this fight, how he got caught a little bit, but then he was able to find his beautiful counter right on the chin, put that guy out, and have a successful UFC debut, but he was getting caught a lot. And then right here, Darian Weeks, he wins via unanimous decision. We know he has beautiful leg kicks. We know Shavkat as well has good leg kicks, but I think when it comes to versatility, we know Shavkat has a spinning heel kick as well. I think this is going to be a beautiful fight when it comes to the kicks. Just the kicks, the overwhelming ability of just right-handed to high kick, left-handed to high kick. These guys are going to be kicking for a full 25 minutes, in my opinion, or if not for the whole entire fight until somebody gets finished. Right here in 2022 against Gabe Breen, he wins by unanimous decision again. So we know that Shavkat Rakhmonov is able to find more finishes in between his bouts. We know both of these guys have faced a fairly amount of tough competition. I will say, though, that we can kind of say that when it comes to the volume aspect, Ian Garry, his speed, his volume, his output is a little bit unmatched when it comes to Shavkat Rakhmonov. But when we look at their styles side by side, Shavkat Rakhmonov is a finisher, and that's what's a little bit more important than the volume aspect. We know right here against Kenan Song even dropped Ian Garry, but we have to look at the finishing upside, how he was able to finish a guy like Kenan Song, walks him down, tries to frame. We also have to look at this as well, how he puts his hand out, opens for that 1-2. Song Kenan is bleeding. We know Song Kenan just lost to Muslim Salikov as well, so make what you want, but he had a more competitive fight with Ian Garry than he did with Salikov. Front kick to the body. A good oblique kick. I don't see Shavkat throw those oblique kicks at all. This is a thing that can literally change the whole trajectory of the fight. One good oblique kick can change the trajectory of the entire fight. We know that that's not a determining factor, but we also have to mention how Ian Garry tends to go with the clock a little bit more than Shavkat. Shavkat goes against the clock. Shavkat gets the finish. Ian Garry's a guy who goes with volume, has to overwhelm you with a bunch of punches, and then finish you with a significant, overwhelming amount of strikes. A guy like Shavkat Rakhmonov sometimes just needs one, or just needs one club and sub. Does the Conor McGregor walk? A guy like Ian Garry is definitely matched up very well against Shavkat Rakhmonov. We also look at this spot where Ian Garry puts his hands to test. He puts his hand fighting to test in order to set up a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful high kick. He's hand fighting a lot. So this guy thinks it's going to be a body kick. Daniel Rodriguez had no idea that that was going to go up high. Gets wobbled. And you know Daniel Rodriguez doesn't get finished a lot, so the fact that he was able to finish a guy like Daniel Rodriguez was very impressive. We know maybe Shavkat could probably finish him as well, but they have very different styles. So when they match up, this is almost like a mirror match. I know they are like kind of complete opposites, but when it comes to the kicking dynamic, when it comes to maintaining control, maintaining distance management, maintaining the inside of the octagon, they have a lot of similarities. Right here, he has beautiful leg kicks, just working the leg kick, establishing his game. We know Ian Garry wasn't able to finish Neil Magny, which was very impressive to some people, but we can say that Shavkat Rakhmonov has a little bit more power on his side, so we have to show his performances, whether they're notable or whether they're a little bit lackluster. Overall, it's going to be a very good fight. Let me know what you guys think. I think Shavkat, his tendencies are, he doesn't move his head. He likes that wheel kick KO. He likes that spinning kick. He likes taking you down, but he prefers to be postured up on ground and pound, in my opinion. If he can take this fight anywhere, he'll be striking and then try to get relentless ground and pound on a guy like Ian Garry. Ian Garry's going to try to keep this fight standing for a full 25 minutes. I personally think this fight probably would be more competitive than a lot of people expect it to be. But let me know what you guys think. This is going to be a banger fight. Let me know if you guys think a guy like Ian Garry can put up a good test or put up a good performance against a guy like Shavkat. It's going to be a very close fight, very competitive fight. Let me know what you guys think. This is going to be a banger fight. Ian Garry has some susceptibilities to his questionable chin, his questionable style of power. You know, his power is not really on his side. Volume, output, and cardio is on his side. And Shavkat Rakhmonov tends to favor power, finishing ability, finishing his opponents early. So we don't know how he'll look in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th if it touches there. I do think that this fight is going to touch the 3rd round. I definitely think so. Let me know what you guys think. And let me know if you guys want a breakdown for Pantoja versus Asakura. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let's get it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Shavkat Rakhmonov, 18 finishes versus a guy like Ian Machado Garry. Let me know what you guys think. And let me know if you guys want another breakdown. Let's get it in depth. Let's get it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get it. Peace.